Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Edward III and we get to hear from King Edward III in Act 2, Scene 2 today. So the king really wants to woo the Countess of Salisbury. He even enlisted her father to try to help in that, but her dad was a little lackluster in his trying to convince the Countess of Salisbury to get with the king. And she was like, I would rather die than be with him anyway. And Warwick was like, phew. But then the king it's been brought back to the king's attention that there is sort of this immediacy of a war about to happen with France. Derby and Audley had mustered men and gotten the support of the emperor and all of that. And the king's son, Edward, Prince Edward, is the one like beating the drum and calling everyone to war. And in yesterday's monologue, the king had a moment where he's like, hang on a second, this is, yes, let's go invade France. This is what we need to be doing right now. Let's go and invade France. But then Lodovick came in and said, the Countess wants to see you now. And King Edward says, why, there it goes. That very smile of hers hath ransomed captive France and set the king, the Dauphin, and the peers at liberty. Go, leave me, Ned, and revel with thy friends. Prince Edward leaves. Thy mother is but black, and thou like her. Dost put it in my mind how foul she is. Go fetch the Countess hither in thy hand. Lodovick leaves. And let her chase away these winter clouds, for she gives beauty both to heaven and earth. The sin is more to hack and hew poor men than to embrace in an unlawful bed the register of all rarities, since leathern Adam till this youngest hour. Go, Lodovick, put thy hand into thy purse. Play, spend, give, riot, waste, do what thou wilt, so thou wilt hence a while and leave me here. And Lodovick leaves. Now, my soul's playfellow, art thou come to speak the more than heavenly word of yea to my objection in thy beauteous love? So it's a weird monologue because there's all these entrances and exits and he's talking to lots of different people throughout it. But what he's saying is, you know, the merest mention of the Countess of Salisbury has wiped war from his mind again and he needs to focus on her. So he's like, all right, Prince Edward, you go fight a war. I got some stuff that I need to take care of here. And then he sends Lodovick, and then he sort of curses his wife for not being as beautiful as the Countess of Salisbury. And he sends Lodovick off to get the Countess because, you know, she's ready to speak to the king. And then he remarks about how beautiful the Countess is and how it actually makes more sense to go ahead and pursue her and sleep with her than it does to commit some other sins. So he's sort of giving himself a pass and saying that, like, since the beginning of time, men have cheated on their wives, so this is fine. But then Lodovick and the Countess come back in and he's like, Lodovick, scram. I'm hanging the metaphorical sock on the doorknob. It's time for you to go be somewhere else for a little while I talk to the Countess. So Lodovick leaves and he turns to her and he says, finally, you know, have you come to say yes to me? And she's like, well, my dad told me that I should. And Edward's like, yay, good. So are you? And she says, you know, this is really distasteful and I know that this is a bad thing that we're doing, but since my dad said that we should, and since you are as powerful as you can be, I will be with you as long as you take care of any impediments to our being together. And he's like, what do you mean by impediments? And she's like, well, you're married and I'm married, hint, hint, wink, wink. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll kill the queen and I'll kill your husband and then we can be together. And she's like, and we're going to get to hear a little bit more on that as we dig further into these monologues tomorrow, further into this scene. So I'll see you. Mwah.